All right, what's up, Anthony? Welcome to the show,
Oh, thanks for having me.
dude. Not gonna lie, I have no idea who you are. I just saw your name on the 10 list, which is it's strange because last year when you looked at that list, it's like you kind of recognized everyone,
Yeah.
just because they're big names, been pretty, just been out there for a while. And then I look at the names for this one, I'm like, I only recognize like two people. So I think it's cool. We got like some like fresh blood, some fresh names, some people that we got to make sure get their notice because you guys obviously all deserve it. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Been trying to reach out to a lot of those guys, but a lot of those guys are like you. It's like their first time on here or doing this. They don't know how to. I don't even know if some of them even know how to respond to a message on Instagram or whatever. So
Oh
it
yeah. No. I mean, shoot, anybody can mess me anything, anytime. No. I mean, it's definitely an honor to get here. You know what? That Nationals. I talked to Joe. I've been in Invitational probably the last 3 years since I've started kayak fishing. I just happened to see a tournament. It was a Hobie. It wasn't even BOS yet. I don't think they just did their Kentucky Lake Hobie event, and I saw it coming up in like a month, and I was like, you know what? I want to try some kayak fishing. I never done it before, and I bought like a sit-in sun dolphin, and I went out and fished that event in a sit-in sun dolphin for 2 days, and that was miserable. It was super hot, and but even though it was miserable, I still enjoyed it and still loved it, and I just didn't stop from that point, and never got to fish a lot of the live events, and that's kind of why I think I've kind of been in that, no one's knows me yet or anything, because I wanted to fish a lot of the in-person events. I've done a lot of challenges, and I always did well in those. But I never had got to fish till this past season. Actually venture out and make it a like a, try to make a statement and get my way in. And I really tried to do that this year, and I kind of succeeded so far, I think.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, how do you feel about the national championship? Like a lot of people going in there, like no one really knew like who. Like it was such a tight like race because a lot of people who thought they were going to make it in the house didn't make it in the house. I mean,
Yeah.
it came down to literally like one event. Like it wasn't a dominant season. I think in KBF for really anyone
No, not
that I can
really.
remember.
Yeah, no, I mean, other than Matthew, he went and just dominated everybody there. But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, excluding him.
yeah, but I started off the season. At the beginning of the season, like I said, I entered the Tim Invitational last year. The first time I went, it was just kind of one of those learning as a learning factor for sure. But after that, last year I was like, Joe, what does it take to make it to the 10? And because and I mean, this was right after the award ceremony, and then he was like, you have to, fish so many events and place top 10, go to a super trail or whatever, those points add up for, and place top 10. And they're like, he goes, go to the trail championship and place top 10. And I was like, okay, I think that's doable. And like and that's what I did. But kicking off the year, so I kind of got lucky. Well, not so much lucky, but I was like, I want to fish all the KBF events I can trail wise, to get my points for it, and then I'm going to fish the Pro Tour. And Pro Tour kicked off. Not as many people showed up, but it was an event way down in Florida again. It's hard for people to travel that far.
Right.
Um, and but I made the travel and did well. Caught two personal bests both days. That it was an amazing time down there at Clearmont Chain. Amazing fishery. But anyways, that counted as a super trail, and I could have went down to the Pickwick Wheeler event for the super trail, but kind of was in a financial bind with nationals coming up and everything, so I had to kind of play my card, just take a risk and take a gamble that certain ones that I knew were going there didn't do as well. And after the standing was over, I think I was in 11th in AOI. I think after that that trail had ended, and I was like, oh man, I'm sitting right outside. So I was like, I knew I had to do good at nationals, and I went down there. Just my goal every day was to catch 5 fish, and I knew if you catch 5 fish every day and you could catch a size of 15 inches to 16 inches and bigger for your 5 fish each day, that should do the job for top 10. And that's my goal every time I go somewhere. You know,
Right.
12-inch fish for 5 fish is great. You get 5 fish, but if you can't find an area that's producing 15+ inch fish, you know, it just doesn't, you know, you're not going to get in that top 10 or, you know, in that money or whatever you're trying to get to. So,
Right. All right.
yeah.
Before we go any further, 'cause we're already getting into the good stuff. Like, you got to
Yeah.
introduce yourself, like who you are, what you done, everything you want to say about yourself. Not just fishing. We all know you fish. That's why you're on the
Yeah.
podcast. But just introduce yourself real quick, bro.
I mean, you know, of course, my name's Anthony Winkleman, and I'm from Marion, Illinois originally. I live in Paducah, Kentucky now. It's only like 30-minute drive, depending on how fast you drive, 30 to 40-minute drive. You know, I've never fished out of a boat growing up. I fished in ponds, creeks. You know, I'd take my bicycle. I made a jerry-rigged wagon that had a tackle box and fishing poles on the back, and I would, as a teenager and kid, I would ride my bicycle all around just looking for ponds in people's backyards, knock on their door, ask if I could fish it. Didn't know how to fish. I just always fished, a rubber worm, and didn't even know if I was using a worm hook at the time. I don't even, you know, I didn't know nothing. You know, and then went to the military for a little bit, for just a year. Didn't get to do anything great. You know, so I don't ever really talk a lot about that because there's guys that they've done a lot more, and I didn't really, you know, I may have signed up, I may have went through basic, and I went through some training tech school, but I don't deserve, you know, the honor of being told, you know, a veteran. You know, I don't claim myself as a veteran or anything like that. But anyways, moving on from that, you know, I've done multiple other things, and now I reside in Paducah, and I work EMS here, and uh, getting ready to kind of go part-time with that and take a little bit more serious on the fishing side.
Okay, we got to stop just right there. Like, what do you
Yeah.
do in EMS?
I'm an advanced EMT.
Okay, I'm a paramedic. So I'm like you.
Cool.
Well, you're like one step.
Yeah, one step below. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's weird. You're an ALS provider. There's just certain things you can't do that I can. So I imagine eventually you're going to get your paramedic, whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know. I'm not exactly sure where you're from, but medics here, I mean, they make fair money. You know, you definitely do it because you like doing it.
oh, dude, the money sucks. The only
Yeah.
the only thing that keeps me doing it is the freedom that I get so far, because I do like to do. I have a lot of hobbies, and those are more important to me than work these days. Since, you know, I did have a pretty successful military career. I do get a check, so it's just like, this is just, you know, the pay the bills. I'm not working for pleasure. Like, that's what I have my hobbies for. So because you know, paramedics are in such need, or, you know, people like we're in such need, but there's not a lot of us because the job sucks and the money sucks. You kind of get your way a lot. Like, I'll go part time because my wife's a nurse, live off her benefits. But, like, you know, I can pick my hours pretty much how I want to. So that's kind of why I like the job, because if I don't want to work weekends, I ain't got to work weekends, because I'm a what you call part time working full time.
Yeah.
They always need us, and so there's always opening on the schedule. So I found my little niche. Why, if people ask how I'm able to fish so much, it's because I just found the perfect job that kind of allows me to do that kind of stuff. So.
EMS is a perfect job for that. If you want to just make some money, and, you know, you'll have a steady income. It's not the greatest income, but if you want the freedom, it's definitely a good little job to do. That's for sure. But you got to it also takes the right mindset too.
Oh yeah, there's days I don't want to go in. That's for sure. I mean, I'm sure that's with every job, but, like, I mean, I'll sit out my truck and just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, you know, I was like that about, I would say, almost 6 months ago. I don't know. Are you guys 24s or 12 hours?
We do 12 hours. I'm in a pretty busy system, so it's like almost, I think it's against the state for us to do 24s because of how busy we are. It's, you know, like, very seldomly do we get to sleep and rest for hours, you know. So
yeah, I mean, you know, our town, I think last year we ran 15,000 calls, over 15,000, but we run on average just anywhere from 3 trucks to 4 to 5 trucks a day. Okay. And so we stay just as busy, and we just went to 12 hours. I've been 24. I've been there for going on 5 years, and been 24-hour shifts, 24 on, 48 off for the last, you know, 4 years, and up to the last, like I said, 5-6 months. We just now switched to 12s, and it's been really nice. It's been a lot of weight lifted off the shoulders. It's like 500 or 700 hours less a year that you work, so it's a lot better.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, all right, well, cool. Back to fishing. How did you get into it? How did you find the kayak?
Facebook Marketplace. No, yeah, no. Like I said, I I started looking at events. I wanted to get into just fishing in general. I've always done the bank fishing. I didn't have family that had money for anything, fancy, or didn't have a John boat, nothing like that. So I didn't really know anything about boat motors. So I started going, well, I could get into a John boat or something like that, but if it breaks, I don't know what to do. So um, then I started looking around for tournaments because I've always been competitive. I grew up competitive, track and field, wrestling, cross country, and so on from there. And then, and so I found this event, like I said, the Hobie event, and it was like 30 days away. So I was like, okay, well, I want to get a kayak and start fishing out of it. So I rigged up something, with some PVC screwed into the back for a holding tackle box, and got in this little 10-foot sun dolphin and was paddling around. And it wasn't bad. It was quick. It was a quick little kayak, but it I caught a lot of fish tournament day. But the first day I caught probably 15, but they were all like 11 and a half inches. I never submitted one fish the whole tournament, because the second day I caught nice fish. I did a move. I caught some nice fish. Never put a fish on a measuring board. Lost every one of them.
Jeez.
So yeah, so that was rough. But everything from there on out, I knew I liked it. I loved it. I felt, it's an addiction. Like fishing's an addiction, but kayak fishing really can turn into a big addiction, and before you know it, you find yourself spending money, but at least it's not a glitter rocket where you're spending $70,000. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
but,
You can
yeah,
kind of hide. You can, if you're strategic, you can kind of hide the financial damage from your better half. I mean, she'll find out eventually, but you
yeah,
can get away with it for a little bit before you're in the doghouse again or something like that.
that's for sure. I started doing we got like a little store that does some liquidation items and things like that. And to kind of offset financially so I can continue to pay bills, I actually been going there and buying things and flipping it for some money on selling apps and whatnot. And that's kind of how I've been able to afford some upgrades and stuff. Because you got to look for that stuff if you're if you're in a financial bind. Don't think you have to settle for the the lesser end. There's nothing wrong with the lesser end of it, but invest into
Right.
the good stuff, and you'll never have to worry about it again.
Yeah.
Those companies take care of people.
That was a hard lesson that I learned. Like, just
Yeah.
go ahead and buy what you want. And I'm not saying break yourself. Like have the conversation with your wife before you go out there and start
Oh
spending.
yeah.
Yeah. But still, like
Yeah.
before I just bought like kind of cheaper item stuff, and they got me through a season, but there's something always went wrong, or it didn't have the action I wanted, or whatever. There was a reason,
Yeah.
and so I ended up having to buy the better stuff eventually, anyways. And so if I would have just, if I would have just done a little bit better research and just done the right thing and just got what I wanted or what I thought I needed,
Mhm.
and not settle for anything less, I probably in a better position now, as far as having to replace things or whatever. Because granted, you're always going to spend money on shit because it's like you're like, man, maybe I need a rod that does this, or maybe I need a rod that does that, or whatever. Or maybe you find out you like to be like, you love the jig, so you want to make a jig specific rod. That's all right, but like when it came to like reels and some things, it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, like the thousands of dollars I spent to finally get just go ahead and buy the expensive one because it's going to be better and you're going to love it. So quit selling yourself short or whatever, and invest in good stuff instead of the half-ass items that I've been guilty of spending money on.
Yeah. No, I mean, for sure, because reels is probably my only weakness right now. Still learning, this rod with this reel for this
Yeah.
bait. Like that's kind of my weakness right now. Like nationals, holy cow. Those guys probably were throwing, because it was about a bladed jig, grass lines. There were some guys probably throwing a worm up into some grass mats and working it off and catching them. But, the bladed jig was the big player. But, man, I burnt my wrist and forearms out because I was trying to burn it, but I didn't have that high end ratio, and I didn't have the funds to go out and get them. But I've kind of this off season got picked up a couple more, but reels is probably my only downside on my weakness of arsenals right now.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all I've been working on this off season is getting I'm on the same boat. Like I'm trying to match the right reels with the right rod and get the right things that I need. Cause that's what I felt on. I think rods yeah, you like the action and everything means a lot to me, stuff like that. But whatever, the rods are rods. I'll find, I find out what I need. But the reels are the ones that I was really slacking on. Like you don't know the difference like until you actually feel it. Like having a good reel compared to like not such a good reel, like it's a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
It's a huge difference in the cast. Obviously reeling it in, the smoothness, all that stuff. There's a big difference, and like I understand like the money difference now.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna pay more for a better reel, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have a whole lineup of Corrados, or
Yeah.
things like that. I really like the Abu Garcia lineup, like the Revos. I really like those. They're very smooth reels, and I've put those through the work the last couple of years, and it still functions just as good as it was when I got it. But I'm testing. I've been flipping around with different brands and things like that. I think right now I got some Quantums, those KVDs. I got some of
Yeah.
those. I'm trying those out. They're not bad. I like them. I've cranked with them a little bit with this cold weather, and they've done really well for that. So, and that's another thing is like cranking. If it's one of those days where they don't necessarily want you burning a crank, they want it nice and slow, and you're used to just going really fast, then it's like, oh, then you got to switch that reel out with a 5-1, and it's like, gosh dang it, like you just never have enough. You never have enough.
Right. Yeah, it's that kind of sport. But I mean, like I said, it's still cheaper than the glitter boat. So
yeah, it's still better. It's cheaper than glitter rocket, and I've gotten kind of blessed this season so far, kicking off with the year and everything, but it's also because the way the year ended for me last year as well. But I got on with Dobbins this for this year, and getting some help that way, and then I've got on with Old Town. I just signed my contract just a few days ago with Old Town. They're expediting me, which is amazing. They're like, called me yesterday or 2 days ago, and they're like, next one that goes out the door, it's got your label on it. It's coming your way. We're gonna have it to you before the 10.
Well, you do me a favor, bro. You talked to your people at Old Town. You said that Josh Smith doesn't get his kayak till April is what I'm getting at. So I just got an Old Town too. I got the big water.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. I'm just kidding. But our inventory, because I live up here in the Northeast, they don't think we need a kayak until April.
No. Oh no. I mean, that's what like if I was to go on and buy one, like sign on, like they treat their people very well, and that's I've fished out of the pro angler the last several years, and I could have applied for Hobie, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great kayak. And it functions great. You can get it in some amazing places for as big as it is. But what really sold me on Old Town and wanting to apply was went up to a bass event up in La Crosse, and I roomed in a B&B with Jim Davis and a few other guys that are on Old Town. And when we went to check in, those Old Town guys were there in a massive RV bus. I think I saw you fished a bass event. I don't know if you probably saw that big bus that they had.
No, I wasn't able to make any of the bass events this year.
Oh, okay. I thought you had fished one at the end, but anyways, there was they had like a big old like RV camper thing just decked out where they could have rebuilt any of their kayaks over again, the drives, everything. And I watched those guys walk up and they were like, oh, I need a prop. And they were like, oh, take two, oh, you need this, take this. And they were just like, they were there for their people.
Nice.
And I was just sold. I was like, I want, I was like, I may love being in my pro angler, but like I was sitting there, and I was around those guys all week. I watched their vessel. There's, just as much room in the autopilot and the big water that there is in a pro angler, and they both function amazing. And that big water, I've heard that sucker's fast. I got one coming too.
For a big boat. I heard it's real fast. Because I mean, like the thing was, I was in a Jackson for the last few years, and nothing against Jackson. It was just I wasn't part of the team or anything, so I had no like real commitment to anyone. So I just do what I want, and that's how I do things. But what got me on the Old Town was the people at Old Town, and then the team that Old Town's put together. Like when I was reaching out, I was talking to people. I was talking to like Jeff Mallett at the KBN, and we were talking, ask him about this stuff and the information he was able to give me and the experience he had with the kayak. And and not only that, he's a competitive angler. And then I talked to some other people who are just competitive anglers. So it was like I was talking to everyone who's really out there like using them instead of like some of the other teams where it's not like they're great guys, but a lot of them like they got like a lot of recreational people that are on there, which is fine. But it was nice to talk to people who were like kind of in it like I was, and like had the same passion, whatever similar mindsets than I was. And so when I was talking to them, they all had like a lot of knowledge, and you could tell they were really invested into Old Town, not just Old Town being invested in them. Like they bought into the whole thought of Old Town. So I'm like, it was kind of easy decision. And I'm like you, I was like I had one foot in a Hobie 360 at one of the local places here. Like I was about to pull the trigger. I was about to hit send on the the credit card or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just happened to start talking to people that were with Old Town. I'm like, oh wow, this sounds like a great place to be and great people to work with because it's just the team they put together. I think is just it's second to none. It's probably similar to like what New Canoe's got going on. Like why you see such a lot of people like moving to these two companies because of the team. Like you really do see like the team aspect of Old Town and New Canoe. Like you can just see it. Like they're always. I mean, everyone that's on the team are posting about it. It's just like it's almost like those are the only two teams out there. And I know there's more, but just the way they carry themselves has been pretty cool. Yeah. And I imagine that's helping them out as far as business go because they got money from me. So
yeah, no, that's for sure. Because I mean, like, I was blown away because I did the same thing talking to people as well. From then on, after that bass event, I was sold on wanting to and didn't know how the rest of the season was going to end up. And then at Nationals, I happened to camp next to Dale Griffin, which he's on the Old Town team as well, and he's been on it for quite a while. But he's a great guy. He's from down in Texas, and we camped side by side. But every single night we just sat around the fire talking, and and I would always just go over and look at his boat and whatnot, and I was just like, oh, this is just too nice, like too nice, and I was like, I need this in my life, and so, but it just the people that represent, Jimmy McClurkin, in Tennessee, me and him, we plan to work together down in the 10 this year and kind of, work, rally together, kind of like the whole Corey and Jody thing, those guys are together. They'll go, but they're in two different kayaks, but they'll still go next to each other, represent each other just as good. But you gotta kind of help each other out, especially in that big old chain of lakes.
All right, definitely. All right, well, so look, tell me your, like I said, you're a new name to me. Like last year, obviously, I talked to everyone. Like if their name was on something, I usually reach out to them and talk to them. You're one of the new guys, especially going to the 10 this year. What was like your process of going from like an idiot who didn't know what he was doing to, now competing against 9 of the best anglers in the country? Like what was the learning process? Was it hard? Did one day it just click? Like I mean, I take it you're not like someone who's been fishing, like you said, have been fishing on a boat your whole life, and so you're fast. It sounds like you're a fast learner.
Yeah, no, that was definitely. I feel like I've always been decent. I'm an idiot when it comes to school, but when it comes to stuff that you're passion, you kind of pick up on it quickly. It's like the EMS life. You want to do it. You learn how to do it. You went to paramedic school and you passed it. And it's kind of like with fishing. I've always loved it, and I could fish off a bank and still catch lots of fish every day, but I just never went out in the water. So now I'm facing the bank, or, sitting out in the middle of water, which I still struggle with out, offshore stuff. But, learning, it's been YouTube. I mean, I would sit there and go, okay, I seen the guys catch fish this way. What are they doing? Okay, they're skipping docks. How do I skip? What kind of docks should I, focus? How should I continue to focus them? Once I find a bite here, do I keep going with that? Do I move in? Do I move out? And, I'm still learning, like, weather pattern changes, what makes the fish do this. And in my head every day, I'm always thinking, what are they doing? Okay, I got a bite here. Do I keep focusing that? Do I move up? Do I move in? And practice, of course. I've spent a lot of time, all these events that I went to, I spent probably on minimum 2 days prior to a week prior fishing the water or getting ready for it. Because I mean, there was weeks of preparation with looking around the lakes on avionics and maps and things like that, studying it up, Googling whatever I could, and reading up. And I just do the homework. And if you do the homework, you'll be you may not be successful. I went to Indiana and fished that what was that lake called? I think it's in Bloomington, Indiana. I can't remember the name of the lake, but I didn't do great pre-fishing. I caught my limit on pre-fishing, in different spots that I went to. But me and Dylan Fuqua both went together to that one because he just lives 30 minutes from me, and we both went up there together. And we both, I mean, it just wasn't. I I had the fish the first day, the first trail on the Saturday one, but I couldn't catch that fifth fish. I had him multiple times, but I'd lose it or something like that. And I was kind of a little down in the dumps after that one. But it was just nobody. Not a lot of people did very well in that one. I mean, the guys that won, did fairly well. But I know Jackson was there. He was on a mega school, and like that boy's always on some mega
Yeah,
fish
yeah,
anyways. But he there was the pictures that he had sent or like shared or sent Dylan, I think, or something like that. Like he was on some studs of some fish in Indiana, that is for sure. But then I think he had a drive break. I had a drive break. I was fishing the whole event with one fin on my 180 drive. I busted off a rod. It was terrible. But anyways, you know, going from not knowing a lot of how to fish in a vessel, a watercraft of any type to, knowing how to. I mean, it's still a learning game. Still learning it. Just got to get out there and do it. I probably spent, like I said, I did the challenge series for the first 2 years, pretty much. I haven't been able to make it till nationals till. That was my first nationals event that I went to. My first trail championship, my first challenge championship. Like I've not been to them, and but I put in the work. I think I don't know how many challenges I've won for this area, but I've won quite a few challenges. Except for this last year, I didn't do a lot of them because I was focused on the trails and stuff. But I put in the work. I went out and I put a lot of hours on the water. And just kind of learning. And that's how that I think that's what's helped with my growth is you just got to practice. Don't just
yeah,
stick to always throwing chatterbait because you think that's going to work every single time you go out. You got to throw different baits for different types of conditions. I hate throwing something and just
just sitting.
yeah, I hate that. But I went out like oh gosh a month ago and just that was the bite. I wasn't catching nothing on anything moving. I think I caught one thing on a little bitty swim bait. It was like 48-degree wet water temps, but I took a jig and I threw it up on some riprap and I just barely would move it, or I would just barely hop it. And now, I mean, every time they would just bam hit it. Now that was a bite.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just got to do that.
yeah,
And
that's definitely but it's also like really like gratifying when it finally does work or when you do figure it out. Like
mm-hmm,
I hate fishing with a jig and I hate fishing with a drop shot, but when I did it and like you caught a fish, I'm like, all right, maybe I don't hate it that much. Maybe
yeah,
maybe it's
yeah,
all right.
yeah. Especially when it's a good fish.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah,
there was
especially when it's like a big one. You're like, well, shit. Maybe I would have been doing this a while. It wouldn't be, But still, it's once you do figure it out, it's like, all right, jig fishing's not that bad.
No, no, not bad at all. I mean, I haven't figured out the whole. I don't really throw much like swim jigs, things like that. I'm not huge on those. 'Cause to me, I'm like, well, a bladed jig does just about the same thing, except for if it's in thick grass, you probably want to throw a swim jig. But I know some of those guys. I know Russ Snyder. I know he's known for it. He'll throw a big jig into the grass and just yank it and work it through that grass until he catches it. And that's how
Yeah.
he's had some success. I think he had some success in lacrosse and maybe the Hobie event. I think last year maybe, or it was like the year prior. I know he had some success doing that. But I don't know how to do that. But that's just experience. That's stuff that those guys have learned. And maybe not mastered, but they know they can get a bite that way, and that's how you just got to find how the bite is, and then
Right.
fine tune it.
Right. So how did you find out that that you made it to the 10? Like when did you know that like you accomplished this goal?
Um, the night whenever they were at national championship on day 2 when they did the trail and challenge series awards ceremony, I was actually sitting next to Jackson, and like we were like sitting there fist bumping back and forth because he was like, "Oh, dude, you did good in the challenge, like awesome." And I was like, they started naming off names in the trail, and I was like, "Oh, I did better than him." because I already knew some people. I knew what they had done. I was like, well, I did better than him. And they were like top 10 people. They started getting to that, no, I didn't do as good in I can't remember. Oh, no, I got 9th in the trail. But it was like once it hit like 12, because I knew I had to get like, I think top 15 and I was in. Because I think after it was all said and done and scores were adjusted, where it angled up, like I was listening to the names getting read off and the people that were beating me in the 10 list, because I was, like I said, I was sitting in like 11 or 13, somewhere in that range. Those names were getting listed. And I'm like sitting there next to Jackson. I'm like, dude, he was ahead of me in the 10. And I was like, he's like, Jackson, I mean, like, we just kept fist bumping. We're like fist bumping back and forth like this. We just kept doing it. And then Chad said my name. And like, I think he said it like probably 3 times. And he's like, dude, Chad said your name. You got 9th. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, but I went up and like, Chad's like, oh, I guess he just didn't have his listening ears on or something like that. And I come up there and I was like, no, I know what this means. And I didn't say nothing, but I was just, I didn't, I was almost in a tear at that moment, and because it was just, I knew what I had accomplished at that point. And so, the third day of nationals was just, I had went and done what I came to do. It wasn't, and the third day was just go out and enjoy it and fish. So,
yeah, that's huge, man. I mean, congrats, dude. I mean, that's a pretty big thing to make it a 10. Like, it's a very prestige, tournament, and there you are now. Regardless of what happened, like you're one of the top 10 dudes in the country right now because of making it to this event. And plus, I mean, like, how do you feel about this? Because like, there's some like Derek Brundle, Matt Conant, and Russ Snyder are studs. Those guys, the thing they understand about fishing, it's ridiculous. Every time I talk to those guys, I'm like, I feel like a chimp. I'm just like what? Just those guys just know, they know what they're doing. And and then I guess like the thing is, like, they've been there now. Like, Derek Brundle, Russ Snyder, this is both like they think their second time in the house in a row, 2 years in a row. And then Matt Conant, he was at the Invitational last year. Didn't fish 10, but he knows that body of water, and now we know how good he is. When I first met him a little over a year ago, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was going to be a national champion. I was just hanging out with those guys at the house, and now I know who Matt is, and so these guys really know their stuff. And I'm not saying you guys don't. I haven't heard of you guys yet, but here you are fishing against these giants. It's a very how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's going to be an honor, because I mean, I even after I found out I was getting autopilot, like I messaged Brundle. I was like, Brundle, I need a battery. I was like, I know you're with them. I was sitting there trying to find this, because I'm with Juicebox Lithium, but right now they only got the little guys. They were going to make a big 100 amp battery for this year and get it to me and everything, but this hasn't happened. But I messaged him, and he's like, it's like talking to a buddy. That guy, it doesn't matter
Great guy.
who he talks to, utmost respect. I mean, for every person, he'll give you the shirt off his back. I haven't got to talk to Russ much. A few words, at nationals, because I've never really seen him at a lot of events. Because like this year, there wasn't meetups. You don't get to meet these people.
Right.
And of course, and so it's funny is I met Derek at Kissimmee last year, but I didn't really get any words exchanged much. But at nationals, during the last day of practice, they show up at my boat ramp where I'm going to fish at. And I'm like, I was respectful of every person. I was like, hey guys, and I was like, I plan to start fishing here and fish this stretch tomorrow. I was like, I can't stop you from fishing it, but if you want to fish it, I was like, I know who you are. You may already have been here. If you've been here and you want it, I'll go find something else. And those guys were like, no, we're just here to fun fish. And I'm like, oh, they're like, we'll leave your fish alone if those are your fish. I was like, well, they're not my fish, but I was like, if you don't mind to not go this way. They're like, oh, we were going to go down south and head towards Southway anyways and fish that way, because there was like a bay of giants that there was 30 people in trying to catch these giants. It was insane. Like you'd watch 7 to 10 pound bass swimming around you, just busting on gizzard shad, like big gizzard shad. It was insane, and nobody, I don't think, caught any of them in there, but it was insane. But no, they left. That was, that's where the respect's earned, from angler to angler is stuff like that happening. But, going down the house and fishing with these guys and, I've been there. I know where I fished at, and I know there's fish there. There's been plenty of fish. I'll say it. I fished tiger last year. That little bitty lake down the bottom left, if you're looking at the map, and I had that lake to myself. I think Dylan shot down there second day of the Invitational trying to catch some, and he caught a couple, but nobody from my knowledge was even in that lake on the north side, because you can almost see the north side from the south end. But there was lots of fish there. I just never found quality. But again, I was finding fish that ranged in that 14, 15 range every now and then. So I was like, and I'm catching them consistently anywhere I go here. So I was like, not a reason to move. So, going to this tin house and fishing, I'm definitely going to find better quality.
Right.
But I already have a sense of the layout. So I'm not, I've made the 10.
Yeah.
Now it's just go and enjoy it. Yeah. Let's go try to win. But, the hunger's there for it, but it's kind of still not as much, not a lot of weight on my shoulders, because, it's not like those guys. Those guys probably got a lot of weight on their shoulders, because, they have a reputation to uphold.
Right. Like you're just happy. You're just happy you made it into the 10 where those guys have been known to, you got Russ Snyder, last year's winner. You got Derek Brundle, who placed third, did really good at the national championship this year, was rookie of the year last year. Wherever the guy goes, he seems to cash a check or is expected to do really well. And then you got obviously Matt Gonnett, the guy who's the dark horse of last year, national champion, rookie of the year. If there was something that could be won, he would have won. So it's different in the sense that those guys, they're expected to do really good. And,
Well, but you also got to think the guys that could get in as well. You got Ken Wood. Ken Wood won it last year, didn't he?
No, he came in second. Snyder's won last year.
Snyder, that's right. You just said that. Snyder's won last year, but Ken, I think, had it for a little bit.
Yeah, he was second, and Brundle was third. So,
and they just kept going back. Yeah, but anyway, you got Ken Wood coming that's going to be fishing the Invitational. You got
Cody Milton.
You got Casey Reed, Cody Milton, and, you got some amazing anglers. But then you got, I'm sure Adam Sweat's going to be there again, which he won the Invitational. So, and he's from that area. So who can win it and then get into the 10 house and then win? That can be easily done. Just got to find the right fish at the right time.
Right. Yeah. Dude,
so,
for sure. Do you plan on fishing and everything down there? I know they got a trail event. I don't know if are they calling it the Invitational or it's two separate things, like the trail event.
Yeah.
And then there's a Invitational, and then there's the 10, right? All going on. Yeah. What are you fishing? Everything?
So I think I'm on edge on fishing the Invitational. I want to. I know Chad's going to want, all the 10 guys to fish it so they can keep somebody out of the 10 house. And, even though there's 11, maybe possibly 12, with that All-American, guy getting in there, Jeremy. But, I'm on edge because I've went to the Invitational this many years now trying to get in, and I'm in now, and I know what it's like sitting on the outside looking in, trying to get in and whatnot. So it's like, do I fish it? But it would suck to go there and win the trail 1, win trail 2, could have won the Invitational, but and the money's nice to win, but I don't know. I kind of would like to see somebody get in, not necessarily. I think it's awesome when somebody makes it in the house because they went and earned it. But I don't know yet on the 10. I'm doing the trails for sure, though.
Yeah, because the trails make sense, right? Because that's a chance for you to rack up points again. Like that's the start of the season. Yeah. But my thing would be is I know a few of the guys did it last year. They avoided doing the Invitational because they wanted more time to pre-fish and things like that. And there's a difference between trying to win something and then trying to figure something out, and to mix those two, I would imagine would be like counterintuitive. Like one's taken away from the other, and this is all depending on how much time you had to go down there. If you're like one of those guys and go down there for 2 weeks or whatever it is, I get it. But when time is an issue, and really because the biggest thing is winning the 10 and getting that big check and or whatever or the things that come with the 10. It's probably the most important thing. And so to invest in those other things and to missed opportunity to learn because you're too focused on winning? Does any of that cross your mind?
I mean, no, I mean, I want to win. Everybody wants to win, but going down there, it's just like I said, it's just about going down and fishing. I mean,
Okay.
having a good
Simple.
time, keep it simple, keep it humble. You're going to get your victory every now and then. It's just when it's going to come. It could come at the right time. It could come at the 10. I mean, it may not come there. It could come at nationals next year. It can come at any event that I fish this next season. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's just go down, be humble, and give it the best that I can. I mean, that's
Right.
it. I mean, I'm going down. I leave. Hold on 1 second. I got some. I know this is probably going to give some back audio. Let me get this. Hold on. I didn't realize it. There we go. Anyways, there was I plan on going down. I leave next Friday. Me, the missus, and the kiddo. We're gonna take her to Disney, and we're gonna go to Universal first couple days, and then Wednesday they fly back. And and I got a few guys. I think I got like 3 other guys staying in the house with me at Airbnb. But then on out, it's gonna be game on, pre-fishing. And the trails are still gonna continue to be pre-fishing. If I'm not on great fish, and there's a day break. We're getting Monday off before the 10 on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I mean, if I'm not on great fish, come those tournament days, I don't do well. And as long as we're able to fish, I don't know the exact rules if we're going to be able to fish or not, or if it's actually got to be off the water. But I plan to, use that day to fine tune and maybe search for a better location and do better. So I mean, there's a lot of fishing to be done, a lot of fish to be caught down there. That's for sure.
Right. Well, if you go in there with the right mindset, this is going to be an awesome time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's how you got to look at it, I guess. So,
Mhm.
all right. Well, outside the 10, we know you made it. That's definitely going down. Just looking past it a little bit, the 2021 season. Like, what are your thoughts? What are you going to do? You've already made one of your goals, and obviously the next goal would probably be to win the 10. But you got a whole season to look forward to now too as well. Is there anything different you want to do, or things you want to try, or things like what do you think?
I want to make. I want. Well, I mean, of course, the KBF stuff. Go at it again. Try to make the 10 again this next season. I made that goal. It'd be nice to set that goal again, and also set another goal for some other series. But I plan on fishing all the bass events. Especially being on Old Town. Kind of representing them in that. Because that's their baby. As the bass events, and so plan on going to Fork and all that. I want to do the Hobie events, but I'm having to wait. Like I said, I'm going to have a big water come to me as well, so I can't use an autopilot at the Hobie events. Right. So I'm going to have to get that to me quickly, and so I plan on doing most of the Hobie events as well. I'm going to be fishing as much as I can, as many of them as I can. The missus is going on a travel job, so she does radiology in a cath lab, so she's gonna do traveling, and she's something she wants to do, kind of take a break as well, and which is gonna, I'll have the kid, but and we're gonna travel with her if it's a far distance, but we're gonna work it out where I can make those tournaments. I may not get as much pre-fishing as I've done in the past. I may have to show up and only get the day before pre-fishing to these events, but there's some of them I've been to. I already know a little bit, so I can go off of that, but like Lake Fork and Eufaula and stuff like that, I haven't been to. So, I'm really looking forward to those because those are some big bass lakes, that's for sure. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, I think making the classic, that's a big goal. I would have liked to have done that this year, but I was only able to make one bass event, and I screwed the pooch on that one. That was probably the biggest mind kabobble that I had in a tournament yet. I knew where my fish were. I'd found them. It was insane the amount of fish that's up in La Crosse. Like, if you haven't been, it's the place. It's an amazing fishery, amazing place to go. It didn't matter where you went. I was averaging 30, 40 fish a day catching in practice. Like, it was insane. And you didn't even have to fish your spot. You can go somewhere else randomly and just start casting and catching fish. It was insane. But I had my spot there, and I found the fish that would have been top Well, enough for the classic for sure, but even top 10, because like it was such a close race, and I think I finished like 50th, which was upsetting. But then it was like I think top 30, I think it is, it got in the classic or something, and there was only like 3 inches that separated me from the classic.
Right.
Like it was insane how like just the fish are all about the same size, but I went and I got in the water that day, and I was fishing. I wasn't the fish weren't there. I'm like, oh man. Well, I messed up and I didn't find any other spots closer to me. My spot was an hour away. I jumped, so I like reloaded up, drove an hour, got in the water, got to my spot. There was 3 people in my spot, and I had to like wiggle in. Was like, hey guys, you mind if I fish here? I've been pre-fishing here too. And then, I got in and I caught my 5 fish real quick, broke a good one off, and then I got out and then hightailed it back and spent another hour. So I wasted 2 hours fishing that day, and I should have never even have left that first spot. And that's what cost me because I showed up and pulled it down. Like I called 2 fish right off the bat, and I only had 15 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, like my goal, I think this year's make the classic, maybe shoot for the TOC, and then like I said, for sure, getting back towards the 10 house. So some pretty big goals, but we'll have to see.
Okay.
So no.
Well, is there any event that you're like specifically like or like really happy about or really want to get to, whether it be just whatever KBF, it doesn't matter, just one event that you really got your eyes on?
Oh man, I mean, what's nice is a lot of them this year are going to some of the same lakes.
Yeah.
So I think every single series is going to Pickwick, and Wheeler,
I
and
feel like
all
you're
that.
right. Yeah, I feel like
I
you're
think
right.
every one of them's going there. I haven't got to fish that I wanted to this year, but like I said, the financial struggles, with everything going on, and just couldn't make that one. But I'm looking forward to that one because I like big smallmouth. Those and smallmouth down there, they like to get big. But I've never fished up on. I've never fished the big smallmouth way up north.
Yeah, the smallmouth up here.
Shoo, man,
Yeah.
those 5-6 pound plus, those big old ones that. But like I said, I've never done that. Fished a boulder 30 feet plus deep, offshore. I'm looking forward to that because I've heard it can get pretty stupid.
Yeah,
So, but no,
definitely.
like looking forward to Texas fishing a lot.
Texas fishing.
Like I said, Fork, that especially that time of the year. I mean, it's going to take a big stringer to win it, or even come at the top because there's a lot of Texas guys that know that lake. And then Eufaula, Eufaula is one that like. I've watched a lot of MLF guys and FLW series and stuff like that, and I watch that for homework. That's homework. If you want if
Mhm.
you want to study on a lake, look on MLF, look on FLW. Watch those videos of those guys fish there. See what worked for that time of year, and you can get a lot of information on what you should be throwing
Yeah.
or doing around that time. But Eufaula, man, there was a lot of big fish caught at Fork, and but at Eufaula, man, those guys were catching just as many, if not. I thought there was more in that 7+ pound range, 6 pound plus range it was caught than there was at Fork even. But so I'm really looking forward to those two events. And a lot of the KBF events, especially coming back because now Kentucky Lake's my home water. So I'm really looking forward to coming to Kentucky Lake at the end of the season on the KBF side. It's been treating me well. I honestly didn't really touch a lot of Kentucky Lake after the first few events I did on Kentucky Lake because I never could find or figure it out. And this year I really forced myself to get on it because there was, the Kentucky events on here, which helped me out big time getting in the 10 house this year. And then, there was a Hobie event, and I had done well in it just prior to the Kentucky, the KBF events. So, I'm really looking forward to that one because I can go out just about every time and I can catch. I've been going out and catching 5 fish every time, and they're always, fish that would get me in the top 10 for sure if you come to Kentucky Lake because there's giants. I haven't caught a Kentucky Lake giant, but there's some that offshore stuff, that ledge bite has been non-existent that Kentucky Lake's
Right.
known for. But I'm kind of glad because I'm not good at that stuff yet. So till I can start when I can start
Yeah.
fine tuning and get that down, then that bike can kick back off, and then I'll be ready to go. But
Right.
this year it's been, gosh, everything that everybody's catching is in 2 foot of water. It's
Yeah.
shallow, shallow, shallow. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to those events for sure.
Well, cool, man. Let's wrap this thing up. Is there anything that you want to think that's making fishing easier for you right now? That's helping you get to the 10. That's helping you. Whatever. We all know like the financial stress and everything that goes on with this
Yeah.
sport. Is there anyone that you want to think that's making that easier for you?
Oh, of course. And, Old Town right off the bat. I mean, that's they're a tremendous help throughout the season, and everything between the kayak and what they do, behind the scenes. Minn Kota, being on Old Town, you also, Minn Kota and all the other things that go along with that. Juice box, lithium with it powers my little electronics. I don't know if you've had one yet, but the sucker's only this big. It's a little bitty thing, but shoot, I can go out like 3 days with a total scan and just I run it all 3 days, and it'll drain it after 3 days. But shoot, that little thing can pack a punch. And then let's see here, and then Dobbins rods. That's the other one. You got to have rods, and Dobbins is near, dang near the top of the line. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't thank those all those sponsors enough, Phil.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I want to try to talk to all you 10 guys. Make sure you guys get the credit you deserve, and to get people fired up for the 10, because last year was really fun the way they did things at KBF and whatever Scott Butcher, the way he interviewed everyone. So hopefully we can get this thing rolling and get you guys some recognition that you guys deserve. But good luck, man. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you again soon in the spring.
All right, sounds great, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, brother. Be safe.
See ya.